Hello, everybody. So apologies for not really making a lot of videos in the last week and a half. I think it's just I've sort of been getting over a very vile cold. First it was a cold, and then it went away, and then I got some sort of rough cough and everything. So that's been keeping me chained to the bed, basically. So apologies for that. So on to business. I think this video is going to be in regards to the latest controversial news in regards to a man by the name of Roosh V. Many of you might know him already. Some of you may not have, but he is he's something. So let's just begin basically with a brief history about who he is. His website, returnofkings.com, what he's about, and this controversy that's going on, which is stirring up a lot of people. And then I'll say my opinions on this guy and what I think of the whole shebang. So let's begin, shall we? So, Roosh is an American guy, born in 1979. Parents were immigrants from Armenia and Iran. Now, he's mostly known as being a pickup artist. He has a few books out. He prefers hooking up and dating non-American women because he thinks American women are, for lack of a better word, batshit crazy, super entitled piss babies. And in a way, he does have a major point. If you see with the direction of young women being brainwashed by their feminism ideology, radical feminists, all that jazz, right? So a few years ago, he started a website called returnofkings.com. And in there, he says blatantly that, A, he's not an MRA. Okay, so there is a difference between an MRA and a pickup artist.
Sorry, do you have a Band-Aid?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just scraped my knee falling for you.
Oh my God! Did you really just say that? Did you really just say that? Do you want my number?
But a lot of feminists don't really get that, and the news media is still labeling him as an MRA, which is a men's rights activist, and he says blatantly that he doesn't really care about the rights of men. He's basically a chauvinistic man who's in it for himself, so it's a very independent route that Roosh is following, basically. And there are certain men in the world who, clomp onto what he's been saying in regards to pickup lines, how to get a girl, how to maybe start dating and hook up, and well, that's what he's generally all about. So, so there is that. He's not an MRA. He's a pickup artist. Two completely different things. Now, in regards to the controversy that's going on with Roosh right now, is that he basically wrote an article called "How to Stop Rape." So, just recently, he has put a note on his article that it is actually published as a satirical thought experiment. In regards to thought experiment for freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and he assumed that most people living in this culture, which we all know that rape is bad, that they would just kind of see it for its satirical purposes. However, it went over a lot of feminist heads, and they didn't get that. So now, basically, he is in the spotlight for suggesting to legalize rape on private property. So what does that entail, you might ask? Well, that is basically allowing rape to be legalized in a person's home. Now, let me say this. I am 100% against all rape, men raping women and children and other men, especially women raping men and other women and children. So rape is bad. Everybody knows this, okay? Everybody, including Roosh. But apparently he's legalizing it for his sole purposes of giving more agency to women. Now, I don't agree with this idea of legalizing rape. Okay, that is wrong. That is stupid. It's actually going backwards, especially in Western cultures. However, let's think about the result. Okay, so his theory is that if you legalize rape on private property, this will make women who go out clubbing, who drink a little bit too much, or possibly do some drugs in order to, have a good time. This would allow them to take more responsibility in how they have fun. And I honestly think this is a good thing. I have seen so many women getting plastered at clubs and being obnoxious and embarrassing and just falling all over the place with, friends or boyfriends picking them up off the floor. I believe that this idea, legalizing rape, though wrong, the consequences of it would actually be beneficial to allow women to truly empower themselves and protect themselves from strange people, from strange men, and having their way with them. So basically, the premises is this. We all know that feminists like to think that a woman who gets drunk cannot consent. But yet somehow when a man gets drunk, he is responsible and thus can consent for both himself and the woman that he's about to mess around with. This, of course, is a fucking double standard, but that's besides the point. So men are now in power about the situation that they've placed themselves in with an unknown girl. So if a girl and a guy both get drunk, he is responsible for both of them, effectively and ironically transforming this girl into an object to be acted upon who can't consent to a little bit of drunken sex or a little bit of drunken fun. So let's just say that they go to this man's house and they mess around, they have a good time, everything is hunky-dory. Even if she says yes in her drunken stupor, okay, and if she, is vomiting in the toilet with him holding her hair back, because that's been known to happen, she cannot consent to sex. Now, in feminist circles, because she cannot consent in this intoxicated state, she therefore has been raped. Or she's had been forced sex against her consent and against her knowledge. Now, this is so bad on so many levels because not only does it make women objects, but it also damages the relationship building between men and women. All right. So there's other facts in regards to gay sex and lesbian sex, but that's a whole different tale. So for right now, I'll just deal with heterosexual sex. So here he is posting this on an article which was posted on February 16th of 2015, almost a year now, okay, almost a year ago, and not a peep, not really anything, because most people with a brain understood what it meant, okay, that it was more satirical, more tongue-in-cheek, and just more like, well, kind of a douche comment to make, but what are you going to do? But now the main media has taken this and blown it out of proportions. Again, lying that he's an MRA, which pisses me off, okay, and saying things that he's living in the basement of his mother's house, which he doesn't. We've also seen the group Anonymous post his address in order for people to go and dox him, all for having a stupid idea that people take seriously, okay, and for him to promote rape. My thoughts on Roosh himself. I recently just watched the video that he did with Karen, the talk amongst them, between them. That was actually pretty eye-opening in regards to his character. I sort of knew Roosh just out of the manosphere, off the internet. I knew what Return of Kings was. I don't frequent it, so I just basically stayed away from him because I just don't like the guy. But after seeing this video with Girl Writes What, Karen Straughn, he's not that bad of a guy. He has a lot of good ideas in regards to the movement for men's rights, pickup artists and pickup lines, which is his main field. So what I get from Roosh, I think that his approach to restoring the relationships between men and women, though viable and if it works for him, great. However, we live in a society where this type of chauvinistic, strutting of how masculine he is a very sad attempt to bring men and women together. It's very independent. It's almost very selfish. He's really in it just to get his dick wet, right? So now I believe in his freedom of speech, and he should have a platform. He should speak what is on his mind. So there's no argument there for me. His freedom of speech should be protected. I love how in certain areas there's been articles and discussion about, female boxers going in to find him and beat the crap out of him. Like, ooh, wow, what a great way to show how tolerant you are of others and, squash patriarchy by beating up a man. Right. It's things like this. The media's lies about him, they're framing their narrative to pinpoint him as an MRA, and MRAs are all assholes and pro-rape and a return to traditionalism. But in the end, he speaks for himself. He doesn't speak for all men. Okay? And he's just simply a pickup artist who wants to get laid, and he wants to help straight heterosexual men get laid as well. Now, as a bisexual male, I don't see how straight men are struggling in regards to dating. I would think that if you're relatively attractive, can provide a lot of resources for women who pick up on those indicators, like you won't have that much of a difficulty obtaining a partner, both for sexual and for emotional purposes. If you are a single man who is not so attractive, a little bit overweight, kind of a geek, you will find it harder for getting that girl. So in that sense, I can see how Roosh is kind of like appealing to these types of men who find it more difficult in retrieving a partner. And so he has an audience, he has a customer base, if you will, to sell his books, to give advice, and the fact that he has these meetings, I think should be allowed. I really do. I think that straight men who find it difficult to find relationships should have some sort of outlet in order to get that goal. Now, is he misogynistic? I don't really think he is, because he says that he has an attraction to women, he loves women, and supposedly can get laid by them. So, misogynistic as a hatred towards women, well, a lot of people like to throw that word around, so I just kind of ignore that. So I look at his own personality. I'm not a fan of the guy. He doesn't represent me, and he doesn't represent men's rights activists. I'm glad that he's showing more sympathy towards men's rights, because, it's, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So I find that in the manosphere or the anti-feminist circle, we kind of need to stick together, right? So MGTOWs, people of Gamergate, women against feminism, anti-feminists such as Karen Straughn, and, men's rights activists, egalitarians, we kind of have to stand together against feminists, against the feminist narrative, because they are so encompassing with their fake victimhood that we almost need every player that we can get. Now, should Roosh be included within our circle? Well, I'm going to say yes, but let's tolerate him, okay? Let's always keep not associating him with the MRA, because he's not. He stated so before, and he's not. But we need all the help we can get. I think he's a very smart and clever man, almost using this to boost his ratings and promote his books. So, maybe a con artist, maybe, a snake in the grass. Who knows? He is one man, and he deserves his freedom of speech, and he deserves his platform just like every other person. I think the best way for us to not take him seriously is to ignore him. Social media, you're just giving him way more cannon fodder to use against you, and the more that you push, the more that you threaten, the more popular he's going to be. So, from my standpoint, let's forget about Roosh. Let's just toss this along for what it is. A bunch of bullshit. Alright, well, if you guys like that video, please subscribe, comment, and like down below. As always, thanks for all your constructive criticism in regards to my videos. And I'm about to have a coughing fit, so you take care of each other, people. Why?